Most students think a school lockdown is just a precaution. An announcement, a locked door, maybe a false alarm, but sometimes the reason for the lockdown is still inside the building. Tonight, I'm going to share 3 creepy, true school lockdown stories. And in each one, the danger wasn't where anyone expected it to be. This first story happened when I was a junior in high school. It was a Thursday, last period, around 10 p.m. We were halfway through math class when the intercom suddenly clicked on. Our principal's voice came through, calm but rushed. "Teachers, initiate lockdown procedures immediately. This is not a drill. No explanation, just that." Our teacher stood up quickly, walked to the door, and locked it. She pulled down the blinds, turned off the lights, and told us to move to the corner farthest from the door. At first, most of us assumed it was another false alarm. Then we heard screaming echoing down the hallway. A second later, heavy footsteps followed, running, fast, getting closer. Someone tried the classroom door across from ours. The handle shook violently. We could hear students crying in that room while their teacher whispered for them to stay quiet. Then the footsteps stopped right outside our door. Everything went completely silent. You could hear people trying not to breathe. Then there were 3 slow knocks. Not pounding, not desperate. Just calm, deliberate. Our teacher shook her head at us, signaling for complete silence. A man's voice came from the other side. Soft, almost shaky. "Please, let me in." Some students looked at each other like we should help him. He sounded scared, but our teacher didn't move. The voice spoke again, and this time it sounded different, lower, colder. "I know you're in there." A shadow shifted under the crack of the door, slowly moving back and forth like someone pacing. After a few seconds, the footsteps continued down the hallway and faded away. We stayed in lockdown for almost 2 hours. When police finally cleared the building, they told us a former student had entered through a side door that hadn't been secured properly. He didn't have a weapon, but he was reportedly unstable and had been making threats online. They found him hiding in a storage closet near the gym. But here's the part that still doesn't make sense. A teacher later told us the security camera outside our classroom showed the former student standing in front of our door. He never knocked. He never said a word. He was just standing there, completely still, smiling directly at the door. The second story happened when I was in middle school. It was supposed to be a routine lockdown drill. Our regular teacher was absent that day, so we had a substitute. He was an older man who barely introduced himself. Around 11 a.m., the lockdown announcement came over the intercom. "Teachers, this is a lockdown. Secure your classrooms." The substitute walked to the door and locked it, but he didn't turn off the lights. He didn't close the blinds. He just stood there, staring into the hallway through the narrow window. We reminded him that during drills we're supposed to hide and stay out of sight. He slowly turned toward us and said, "It's fine." His voice was flat, emotionless. Then somewhere down the hall, someone started pounding on a door, hard, fast, desperate. Students began whispering and panicking. The substitute walked back to the door, unlocked it, and slowly cracked it open. Everyone started telling him to close it. He ignored us and leaned slightly into the hallway like he was looking for someone. Then we heard running footsteps approaching quickly. He suddenly slammed the door shut and locked it. This time he turned off the lights and told us to get down. We stayed like that for nearly an hour. When police eventually cleared the building, officers entered our classroom and immediately asked the substitute to step into the hallway. They escorted him away in handcuffs. We later found out the lockdown wasn't a drill at all. The office had discovered that the substitute wasn't in their system. He had shown up that morning claiming to be assigned there, and no one verified his credentials. There was no background check, no record of employment, nothing. The lockdown was triggered when administrators realized they had an unidentified adult in the building. Weeks later, our real teacher told us something even more disturbing. During the lockdown, before he slammed our door shut, the substitute had stepped fully into the hallway. Security footage showed him quietly trying multiple classroom doors, including ours. From the outside, the final story happened during my senior year of high school. It was the last week before graduation. Around 1:30 p.m., the lockdown announcement came through again. This time the voice sounded urgent. Lockdown. This is not a drill. I wasn't in class when it happened. I was in the bathroom near the science wing. Within seconds, the hallway outside went silent. Doors shut. Locks clicked. I stayed in one of the stalls, assuming a teacher or security officer would check the restroom. About a minute later, I heard the bathroom door open. Slow footsteps crossed the tile floor. I assumed it was a security officer sweeping the area. The footsteps stopped directly in front of my stall. Whoever it was didn't say anything, didn't knock, just stood there. I could see the outline of shoes under the stall door, completely still. After what felt like several minutes, I whispered, "Hello." No response. Then the stall door next to mine slowly creaked open. I hadn't heard anyone enter that stall. No footsteps, no sound of a lock turning. But now I could see another pair of shoes under the divider. Two sets of feet, one directly in front of me, one in the stall beside me, neither moving. Suddenly, the main bathroom door slammed shut loudly. I flinched. When I looked down again, the feet in front of my stall were gone, completely gone. The second pair remained for a few seconds longer, then disappeared as well. No footsteps, no sound of anyone leaving. I stayed frozen until police eventually cleared the building and an officer entered the restroom, calling out to check for students. When I stepped out, the bathroom was empty. Later, that week, I asked a security staff member if cameras showed anyone entering the restroom during the lockdown. He said the cameras only showed me going in. No one else entered before or after. But the motion sensors inside the bathroom triggered 3 separate times during the lockdown, each activation coming from a different stall. Lockdowns are meant to keep students safe. They're designed to isolate danger and protect the people inside. But sometimes, they lock you in with something you can't see. And sometimes, the real threat isn't the one trying to break in. It's the one already standing quietly on the other side of the door. Which story scared you the most? Comment below.